Hello and welcome to my game view on Syndicate. The original Syndicate series from the early 1990s by Bullfrog was an isometric tactical shooter. In 2012, Starbreeze released a reboot of the franchise and have moved it to a first-person shooter. It's in keeping with the modern tradition approaching first-person shooters, so you have two weapons at any one time and grenades, the player has regenerating health, and you can aim down iron sights. What really sets Syndicate apart though is the mechanics tied to the dart chip. This can be used in two ways. First is to provide a tactical overlay to the visual element, which will allow the player to see enemies more clearly, and also any enemy that's been previously viewed there will show up through the walls in an X-ray style. Whilst active, time will appear to have slowed down, allowing for greater time for accuracy and more reaction. It can be upgraded through the talent system to provide additional benefits such as longer duration or increased damage resistance. It has its own unique energy source that will go down fairly rapidly, meaning that short bursts are best. It will recharge on its own after a period of time. The second functionality that the dart chip provides is breaching targets and objects. I will go into breaching targets in a little while, but breaching essentially involves a white icon appearing above their head and then you can perform some ability. With objects, it's usually activating something in some way, like a door or platform. In the current fight scene that has been going on, there has been a breach target on the wall, which when activated would pump steam into the room, disorientating targets. This is not particularly common, but breaching objects can be used in fights. Usually it is just involved for progressing the level in some way. Breaching regular objects requires no energy, but breaching human targets does. There are no official cover mechanics in that you can't hold a button down to hide next to a wall, but there is always plenty of cover provided and it is encouraged to take because enemies do really hit quite hard, to be honest. They seem to have gone for a more realistic approach to that. There is also functionality that if you are near cover and you push forward, your character will lean over the wall. It's not really that useful, but in occasional situations it can help provide vision or taking an enemy out. The heads-up display will project into the real world, showing bullets on the gun and information in front of you, as well as illustrating icons and objects on the ground. When not fighting, often you encounter these QuickTime-esque events where you have to repeatedly push the use key. Anyone who's played Dead Space will be familiar with them. They're not true QuickTime events really, but they are just an excuse to move the level along. Now let's take a look at the breaches that can be used against enemy targets. There are three main ones, each with their own energy pool, which is demonstrated in the bottom left of the screen. Persuade, Backfire, and Suicide. Persuade will turn an enemy target into a friend, and they will attack their former allies for a brief while. The persuaded target will not go and seek enemies out who are behind cover, they will stand nearby and just shoot any enemy that is in line of sight. After all enemies have been vanquished or when the time runs out, the persuaded target will commit suicide by shooting themselves. The suicide breach will force a target to use a grenade whilst holding it, killing them and anyone else nearby. The backfire breach will detonate a bullet in the target's gun, knocking them over and making them vulnerable to extra damage for a few seconds. Finally, there are some special enemies that require a regular breach that doesn't consume any energy. This breach will remove their armor temporarily, allowing a brief window in which health can be knocked off. If this window is not used properly, all health will regenerate. And that was a look at the gameplay from the 2012 Syndicate. Please check out the full review in the link in the description. My name is Vico, and thank you for watching.